All right, hello everybody. Welcome back into another Tai Chi Fusion number 2. So this is week number 2 out of 5. Quick reminder, Tai Chi Fusion means that we are pulling from multiple Tai Chi origins, Tai Chi families. Okay, so we're going to mix them, which is not a traditional thing to do, right? Some of these will be traditional moves, right? They'll all be traditional moves, but pulled from different families. So you wouldn't see this, for example, in China because it's mixed. So with our Tai Chi Fusion, we use 4 moves each week. We take 2 from the previous week and we keep them, and then we take 2 new moves to mix them in. Okay, so each week we get rid of 2, keep 2, and the ones that we got rid of, we replace those with 2 more. So anyway, let's go ahead and get moving here. If you missed week 1, that's okay. It's here on the channel. You're welcome to go back and watch that at any time. You don't have to watch them in the correct order, but they will progressively get a little bit more challenging. Week 1 and week 2, similar difficulty level, I would say. Week 4 and 5 include a couple of moves where, anyway, there are basically varying levels of specificity that you can follow, right? Don't stress yourself out with trying to be a perfectionist. I know I kind of am sometimes. So Tai Chi can be humbling because there's always something to improve on, whether it's the moves themselves or one of the elements of Tai Chi. And we'll review the 4 elements that we talked about last week in this class as well. Here we are. Shake out the arms. Shake out the legs. Let's roll the shoulders. Big shoulder rolls. Big shoulder rolls. Waking up the body. Good to have you guys today. Happy week 2. All right. Rolling the shoulders forward. And make sure let's unlock the knees a little bit, right? Get the flow through the body. A little bounce in the knees. Turning the head left and right. Rotation for the neck. And circles with the hips, maybe some hula hoop hips are here. One of our warm-ups we do for our other classes as well, just to get the hips moving and switch directions. Next up, let's borrow a few moves from Gong. That's Qigong. I teach some of those classes, so if you like these next couple of moves, you might check out one of those afterward. Unlock the knees and circle around, swinging the arms. This is still part of our warm-up. Letting the arms kind of just bump into the body. Using a little bit of momentum here, right? The force kind of pulls your arms out as you swing and they bump into yourself. Now, one of the elements from last week can be really well illustrated with this move, right? We're using momentum right now, but if we slow down, what we're doing is controlling every degree of motion, right? So we're faking the momentum. It looks like we're flowing through, but we're really controlling it. You could park it in reverse if you wanted to, right? Do some dance moves. Anyway, swinging the arms around with momentum is fine, but what we want to try to do in most of our stepping patterns in this class is slow down and control every degree of motion. So we'll review that and apply it later. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. A couple more moves here. Bringing the arms out and up, breathing in. Circling out and down as we sink at the knees and hips. Circling around like we've got a big old globe in front of us. Circling around the world. Last one, nice deep breath in through the nose if you can. And circling out and down, let it out. All right, bring your fingertips together, stretch apart, breathing in, pull the shoulder blades back and the chest can go forward. Again, this is stuff kind of borrowed from Qigong, but it's great as a warm-up for Tai Chi. Breathing in, stretching apart. Last one, nice deep breath, opening up the lungs, opening up the chest, and let it out. All right. Shake out, move anything else that you feel like you need to move. Review of our fundamental from last week. This is called holding the ball, right? And we do this move in between basically all of our other moves. So this is like the first thing you need to do. This is like dribbling the basketball or dribbling the soccer ball, right? Weight shift to one side or the other. I'm gonna have my weight on my right foot first. By the way, it never matters to me which side you're on. Okay, you won't offend me at all. Just pick a side and then put that same side's hand on top. So my right foot is my base foot, my root foot, my weight is in my right foot, so I'm gonna have my right hand on top. That'll help to lead into every move that follows today. So as we cross over, we're going to kind of cradle underneath the ball. As I weight shift to my left foot, now my left hand's on top. If you find that you're doing the opposite, if you're rolling over the ball, right, that's fine with me, but this isn't just for traditionality. This will probably get your arms to fumble a little bit and trip up. So try to have the same side that your weight is on, have that hand on top of the ball, cradling underneath. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's warm up our stepping pattern. So in this Tai Chi Fusion, we've been doing a basically 4-direction clockwork form. So we step forward like we're moving around a clock, right? Forward, come back to hold the ball. Then I'm gonna go diagonally here. Doesn't matter to me which side you're on for now. Come back to hold the ball. I'm stepping left to the side, and then come back to hold the ball. By the way, my hands aren't doing anything specific here. They're just dancing. And then step back. This is all about stepping for now. Come back to hold the ball. Then I'm going to switch sides with the ball here. Stepping forward, for me, it's my right foot. Little dance move with the hands. Come back to hold the ball. Diagonal step. Come back to hold the ball. Right foot out to the side. Weight shift back and hold the ball. And right foot back. And weight shift forward to hold the ball. One important point with our stepping here is when we step back, you don't want your toe to turn basically the opposite direction of your front foot, okay? It's not like you've got an opponent in front of you and you're turning to run away from them. It's really just a creation of a little bit of separation, right? So you just step the foot back and the back toe opens up a little bit. The hips open up, okay? It does not need to. In fact, it's better if it doesn't open up a ton. You don't want to get a lot of twist and tension on the medial knee there, the inside lines of the knees, and the hips might get bothered from that, okay? It's not a functional stance of balance either, so we just want to step back, the toe comes open a little bit. No more than 90 degrees, I would say. I like about 45 degrees, just a little bit of a step back, but that's me. All right, so we've got forward, diagonal, sideways, and back for both sides, right? Today, when we step out to the side, just like last week, our toes are going to be parallel. They're both going to be facing forward. So for me, I'm facing you right now. In weeks like 4 and 5, I believe it is, later, I'll say in future weeks, we'll do a move where we step the toe out and it actually points to the side. Okay, so that'll matter another week, but for this week, toes are parallel as we step to the sides. All right, our first move today is a new one this week, right? We didn't do it last week. Last week we did double fists with a punch. This one's just a touch more involved, okay? It's called pushing chi. And I'm gonna do it to the side because I think that it's easier to see what I'm doing. It is a forward stepping move, however. So it's a forward stepping move. I'm just doing it to demonstrate sideways. Holding the ball here on the right, or at least I am anyway. I'm gonna step forward with my left foot. My hands come to my shoulders. As I step, I push. That's one part. Roll back for 2. Push down toward that front foot for 3. And back up for 4 to hold the ball. So it's front, back, down, up. Okay? Step and push. Roll back. Down. And come up to hold the ball. Now, I don't have a stiff back. I can move more than that. But I'm being very intentional here so that I honor one of our 4 elements of Tai Chi. We already talked a little bit about controlling every degree of motion, right? Slowing things up. There's more to it than that. There's stepping within your tipping point, but we'll talk about that later. This one is vertical spine, okay? So even though I can lean forward, right? I have that mobility. It's gonna look like my upper body is zipped up nice and tight because I want to have that vertical spine. If you're here, and not everybody's here for this, but if you're here for low back pain, it's very crucial that you do this nicely from the beginning, because if 10 minutes down the road you have been leaning, you might find that your low back is feeling worse, right? So we want to keep it nice and vertical from the start, especially if you're here for low back pain. So here it is, holding the ball on one side. I'm going to step and push forward. The reason I'm bringing up that element now is this move is very tempting to do this number, right? Lean. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be a superhero in this class, or at least not in this particular move, okay? So don't push and lean. Try to avoid that. That's a lot of tension on the low back. Another thing with keeping your spine upright is trying not to have a lot of arch in the spine, right? Hyperextending it. So here's how we avoid that. Push and make sure our tail is tucked a little bit. If your bottom's flared back like this, okay, my bottom's flared back, I'm really binding up some tissues down there that are not gonna feel good afterwards. So I wanna tuck my tail, even if that reduces my total range of motion, right? We don't have to move big to move safely, right? Good movements aren't necessarily the biggest movements. So when, and we'll bring that up later with stepping within your tipping point, that'll be relevant as well. So for this, vertical spine, push, tuck the tail, even if it's a small movement, that's fine. Roll back, down toward the front foot, come back and up and hold the ball. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm gonna switch sides here, and I'll do this facing you now. Switching sides, my left foot is my root foot. You choose whichever side you're on. Come up to the shoulders as we step, and push, roll back, vertical spine. Push down, also tempting to lean down toward your foot, right? To tie your shoe or whatever, but we wanna keep our spine up, okay? Let me just turn to a diagonal for another view for you. Step and push, roll back. Down, roll up to hold the ball. I'll do one more here, side view. Step and push, roll back, down, come up to hold the ball. Okay, so we've got one move, and we've briefly talked about posture with our vertical spine, and we very briefly talked about controlling every degree of motion. That'll come back up. Move number 2 is a review from last week, but it's a pretty simple one. I don't think you need to necessarily go back to that video to get this one, right? This is pretty simple. It's called ward off, and multiple family origins teach ward off. You'll see that today. This one is probably the most common, okay? So holding the ball on the right, that's the most common one I see anyway, in my circle. Stepping diagonally to the left, as the toe, sorry, not the toe, that's my heel. As the heel touches, the palms go down, and you push your opponent away with your back of your hand, your forearm, kind of rolling them away. It's as if they're this wall here, right? And you're rolling them away, okay? You're pushing them off. Create some distance. Holding the ball here, step at a diagonal, and push them away. Now, whatever direction you're stepping, you want that toe in the same direction, right? So you're not twisting your ankle and twisting your knee. Step and ward off. It feels, for me, this is another one of those moves where it's tempting to lean, right? And I want to avoid that. I want to try not to tip forward here. It's very dancey, right? This one's very like ballerina-esque, okay? I'm not a ballerina, but it feels like you're gonna come up onto that front foot. What we do wanna stay rooted, right, on the ground in both feet. Step and push them away. We'll switch sides here. Switching sides, now my left foot's my root foot, doesn't matter which side you're on. Diagonal step, and I'm sort of rolling elbow, wrist, fingers, come back. shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. It's kind of this wave, right? Looks like a noodle. Step, shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Come back to hold the ball. Okay? We'll do more of that today through our series, but I'm not going to teach a whole lot more on that particular ward off. Move number 3. Move number 3. This is our side stepping move. Again, we keep our toes forward. It's not to the side today. We're not pointing to the side. We're pointing forward. It's a very similar move to last week. Last week we did wave hands like clouds. Up and out. Up and out. Okay? It feels similar in this sort of upper body torso rotation, hip movement. It feels sort of like a swim move, right? Both of these. This move is called Chen style ward off, and here's what it looks like. Step left, just like before, and then you block sort of up and out at this diagonal. Your upper body rotates to the left as we block, and then it rotates to the right as we block. Notice, my blocking hand's active, but also my hand that's not blocking is preparing. It's coming across here. It's sneaky, right? It's subtle, it's silent. It comes down and across, and it's ready to block on the other side. Down and across, ready to block on the other side. This is one of those cyclical moves. You could almost just get into a vibe here and do this same thing for 10 minutes, right? It feels like a lot of good flow going on. Much like wave hands like clouds. Now here's where you can kind of draw a difference. Wave hands like clouds, the application for that is a little bit more oriented toward one opponent. So imagine you've got one person throwing 2 fists, right? And you're just blocking, block, block, block. That was a pretty crummy wave hands like clouds, but it's very central, right? This move, I always say, it reminds me of like the Batman comics or cartoons or whatever. There's multiple opponents, they're coming from diagonals, and you're blocking that opponent, and then you turn to block that opponent. There's some weight shifting here in the feet, there's some rotation in the spine, and there's a little bit more of a linear motion, right? There's this diagonal motion in your forearm. It's not so up and out, up and out. It's a little bit more, sorry, I should say, it's not more up and then out, it's more up and out at the same time. It's a diagonal block, diagonal block, diagonal block, diagonal block, okay? Shake out the arms, circles with the hips if you need to kind of recover the low back or anything like that. All right. Another similarity with these two moves. Since it's one of these cyclical, you can go left and right moves, often those moves have a number associated with them. The thing that we usually see with this is 3 moves on each side so that we return to holding the ball, and that kind of comes into another element, the breathing element, but we'll get there. So step left, very much like wave hands like clouds. We did 1 and 2 and 3 to hold the ball, 3 on each side. I almost did 2. 3 on each side for this move as well. So step left, block, and 1. Block, and 2. Block, and 3. On that third one, we come back to hold the ball. I'm going to do that one more time on this side, and then I'll switch sides. Step left and block, 1. Block, and 2. Block, and 3, and hold the ball. Okay, let's switch sides. Now my left hand is on top of the ball, left foot is my root foot, and I'm ready to step right. So step right, weight shift and block right, left for 1, turn right, turn left for 2, right, left for 3, and hold the ball. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 more times here. Kind of get a flow with it, right? Right, block, left, block. Right, block, left, block. Right, block, final block for 3. Okay, last one here. And then we'll kind of apply 2 elements to what we've done so far. Stepping right, block, block for 1, block, block for 2, block, block for 3, and hold the ball. Okay, I enjoy this move. It's a fun little rotation, right? It feels like you're dancing in kind of a funny way. All right. Okay, so we've talked about 2 elements, touched on, mentioned breathing, we'll get there. These 2 elements are vertical spine, okay? So that one's really important with pushing chi so that we don't lean forward, And it's really important with our most common diagonal ward off so that we don't lean, okay? The other one is controlling every degree of motion. So this one, remember when we were doing Bear in the Woods and we were swinging the arms around, then we went in slow motion. The same thing is true with our stepping pattern, okay? So when we step, there's such thing as a tipping point, a point of no return. When you step forward, eventually there's no turning back. You are going to land in place. Hopefully not on the floor, but you're going to land with that foot down, right? That's your tipping point. At some point, and I'm going to hold on to the wall here. See, there's no way I could come back from that if I wasn't holding on to the wall. I couldn't return my foot. So what I want to do is step before that point. So I want to get my foot out there and say, nope, never mind. And it's okay to squat down a little bit, try to get a good base of support going here, and then really ground yourself, reach, and then decide, never mind, right? And you can kind of practice that and decide, for yourself, how far can I step? Some people are going to step much farther than others. So these Tai Chi masters out there get so low and their foot just goes way out to the side, and it's a lot of balance, it's a lot of leg strength, and some of it is body type mobility, right? Smaller knees, smaller legs, shorter people. Some of that you can get a little bit lower with. So there's a lot of physics with that range of motion. Here we are. So as you step forward for pushing chi, think about where your tipping point is. You don't want to step so big, right? I told you that would come back. You don't necessarily want to make this so big that you can't stop yourself from stepping. You want to imagine there's a stick there and you've decided, nah, never mind, I want to come back, okay? So we set the heel down as we push, then we weight shift. The same thing is true, by the way, when we come out of moves, okay? So when we return back from moves, we don't want to launch back, giving us momentum to return. We want to weight shift back, and then look at my foot. I'm just going to retrieve my foot. I'm just going to decide for it to come back, right? So I'm weight shifting back and then retrieving my foot instead of kicking off, right? Instead of pushing off. When we step to the side, I think this one's nice to see. The Chen style ward off, and I'm not going to worry about the arms right now, but this is for the stepping. You might see that I'm squatting down a little bit. I send my foot out to the side within my tipping point, right? I'm kind of getting my toe to touch, and that's great. Then I weight shift and I do the move. And when I come back, I'm blocking and weight shifting back onto my right foot, and I can just decide to bring my left foot back. So I'm not launching back, right? I'm avoiding momentum, right? Because you never know what you're going to find when you can't stop yourself, right? All right, so those 2 elements can be applied to these 3 moves pretty easily. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easy to see the application for those 3 moves. Not all moves will it work for. Like, you can't tell about the vertical spine so much with this Chen style ward off. It's okay to sway left and right. It's more about avoiding front to back bend. But anyway, we'll get there. Let's do these 3 moves together, as in consecutively. So I'm going to step forward, diagonally, and sideways. We haven't done our 4th move yet. Switch sides of the ball and go forward, diagonal, sideways. You decide which element's important to you. Vertical spine, or stepping within your tipping point, controlling every degree of motion. those ideas for now. So you decide what you want to work on. Here we are, holding the ball. Take a deep breath to recharge, and let's step forward and push. Roll back. Down. Come on up to hold the ball. Diagonal stepping, this is ward off. Come back to hold the ball. Side step to the left and block. Block for 1. Rotation block. Rotate block for 2. Block. Block for 3 and hold the ball. Switch sides with the ball. Pushing as we step. Roll back. Down. Come up to hold the ball. Step diagonally. Ward off. Come back to hold the ball. Stepping out to the right. Blocking 3 times each way. 1 and 2 and 3. All right, holding the ball. Shaking out the arms here for just a second. And so we've got 2 elements, 3 moves. Let's do our 4th move. Talk about our last 2 elements and then kind of practice a little bit. So our 4th move is a review from last week. This is not new, and it's one of our simpler moves. It's roll back. So I'm going to face the side because it's easier to see, but it's a back step. Remember not to turn your back toe out too far. Don't twist your knees. And we roll back with the shoulders, or with the hands to the shoulders. Down the body, step forward and hold the ball. That's the whole thing. Step back and roll. Step forward. I'm not too tempted to do this, but you want to avoid like leaning back. I don't know, maybe somebody's tempted to move like that, but I'm pretty good at the vertical spine on this one. If that's a challenge for you, try to keep that spine nice and tight and up and down. Switch sides, step back and roll back. Hold the ball. Step back and roll back. Hold the ball. If holding the ball is getting kind of like weird, it's like up high, it's super low, just like move it around, kind of shake, and then find where your hands fall. Like you're holding just like a teddy bear right here. Something lightweight, right? Something not worth a lot, but just you could shake it and not worth a lot of weight in pounds, right? So it's just kind of light. There you go. All right, so we've got our 4 moves. Forward, diagonal, sideways, back. Our next 2 elements, let's talk about one of them first, is breathing, okay? And this one, I think, is one of the easier elements, but for me, it's one of the more enjoyable elements. Maybe it's more enjoyable because I find it easier, maybe it's easier because I find it more enjoyable, I don't know. But it's just very in and out, obviously, and when you return to the ball, that's when you want to breathe in. Think of this as gathering energy, right? We're gathering air. It's the catch, and then the move is the release. This is gathering potential energy, expending, using kinetic energy. So we retrieve and we release, okay? Where it gets a little bit weird are these moves where it's not just one and done. Okay, so one and done meaning ward off is 1 and then we're done. Pushing chi has 4 parts to it, right? So we push and exhale, breathe in to roll back. Push down and exhale, breathe in to come up. Okay, so every time we come back to the ball, and it's designed, the classes are designed so that when we return to the ball, it's going to help us to breathe in, hopefully. Hopefully we have that kind of pattern. For example, with wave hands like clouds last week and with Chen style ward off this week. That's why we're doing 1 on each side so we can go out, in, out, in, out, in as we hold the ball. Out, in, out, in, out, in as we hold the ball. So every time we come back to the ball, we breathe in. Gets a little bit funny here as well when we switch sides because we go from holding the ball to holding the ball. So we just take an extra sip of air in there. Here's where it is. We roll back and exhale. Breathe in to hold the ball. Switch sides and take an extra sip of air. And then you're set and charged for a good pushing chi on side number 2. Okay, that's the element that I'm going to work on this time because we haven't worked on it much today, if at all. What can I say about that? If you're here for low back pain, you still want to kind of keep the vertical spine in the back of your mind going, but my primary focus for myself this round will be breathing, not the tipping point or any of that, okay? Here we are. I'm holding my ball on my right-hand side. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose if you can. Exhale and push. Breathe in, roll back. Exhale down. Breathe in, come up. Diagonal step and exhale. Breathe in, come back to the ball. Step left, exhale as we block. Inhale for 1. Exhale as we block. In for 2. Exhale. Inhale for 3. Step back and roll back as we exhale. Breathe in to hold the ball and leave a little room to take an extra sip of air here as we switch sides. Now we push and exhale again. Breathe in and roll back. Exhale down. Breathe in, come up. Diagonal step and exhale. Breathe in to come back to the ball. Step to the side, exhale as we block. Inhale, block. Exhale. Inhale for 2. Exhale. Inhale for 3 and hold the ball. Exhale as we step back. Breathe in as we come back up to hold the ball. All right, let it all out. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. Nice, nice, nice. All right, let's keep going there. I love the breathing techniques though, because it's just very, there's a lot of flow to it. Speaking of flow, flow is our final element today. And for me, we went from the easiest one in my opinion. This is the most challenging. And that might just be me, right? Flow has to do with, after we connect the dots with lines, we erase the dots, right? And then it's just a nice circle. Okay, so instead of having choppy parts and bits to each move, like for example, ward off, when we go from here to the end point and we come back, instead of having stop points, we go and we float right back into holding the ball. But holding the ball is also not a stop point, right? Not anymore, not with flow. So we want to do ward off, come back to hold the ball, and then we flow right into Chen style ward off. And then we flow right into roll back. So there's never really a pause, okay? It's tough. For me, I don't know if it's because I'm teaching and I've got to verbalize, right? I'm trying to verbalize the next move. So I'm doing one move, thinking about the next move, and trying to say the next move as I start to transition into it. It feels like a lot to say, but I don't know. If you need to mute me because I'm saying too much for this flow thing, go ahead and do that. That's fine. But I'm going to give it my best shot here. What else can I say about it? So try to find any points through the series of movements where you're pausing. When you push, are you pausing there? Because we should just kind of roll back and roll down and roll up and just barely hold the ball for a half a second, move right into ward off. So it starts to feel like I'm moving in fast motion. So I compensate by going in super duper slow motion. So let's give it a shot here. Four moves, you know the moves. Holding the ball on the right, nice deep breath. Step forward and flowing, not stopping. Roll back and down. Come back up, just barely hold the ball for just a half a second and then ward off. And then float right into holding the ball and step right into Chen style ward off. And 2. And 3, hold the ball for just a second and then step back, roll back. Holding the ball, switch sides, step forward for pushing chi. So that was a funny fast transition, right? And down. Come back up. Diagonal step for ward off. So all my parts are moving all at the same time. Stepping to the right, Chen style ward off. 1 and 2 and 3. Step back to roll back. Come back up to hold the ball. Okay. And if you're really working on flow, you could have switched right back over to the right side and started stepping left. Switch right back over to the left side, started stepping right. You could try 3 cycles going left and right in a row or more, right? You could do this for 5 or 10 minutes and see how that flow feels. See if you get better and better at flow. Our next little segment here, quick review. We've got vertical spine, controlling every degree of motion, right? Not stepping beyond your tipping point. We've got breathing in as we hold the ball, out as we do a move, and we've got flow, never quite stopping. Now, that is very challenging in my world. That is very challenging to work on all 4 at the same time. So if it's safety and low back pain that you're worried about, definitely work on vertical spine. If it's something else that you're interested in, if it feels good to just do the breathing or do the flow, or you want to really challenge your balance and really work on stability, then work on controlling every degree of motion. I'm going to flip the script here. I think we did this last time, where we go backward first. So I'm reversing the direction of our clockwork here. So I'm going to step back, and this is kind of as a brain teaser, right? Keeping us sharp. So we're going to step back, sideways, diagonal, and forward. Okay? Here we go. You go ahead and go your own pace. If you need to pause me or mute me or something, that's fine. Breathing in as we hold the ball. Exhale to roll back. Hold the ball. Chen style ward off. 1, 2, 3. Hold the ball. And then our more common diagonal ward off. Hold the ball. Pushing chi. Push. Roll back. Down and up. Switch sides with the ball here. Roll back, hold the ball, stepping out to the side, Chen style ward off. 1 and 2 and 3. Diagonal, more common ward off. Come back to hold the ball and pushing chi. I'm pretty happy with that. We did pretty good. And holding the ball. All right. Nice job, everybody. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. I'm going to do one final cycle here. You choose the element that's most important to you. If you want to work on multiple, great. If you want to forget about the elements right now and just try to remember the order of the moves, that's fine as well. I will say when I focus on more elements, my technique for the moves kind of falls by the wayside a little bit, right? It's harder for me to remember to rotate with Chen style ward off when I'm thinking about the next move coming up and thinking about flow and breath and all that. But that's why there's almost always something to work on in Tai Chi. There's so many pieces. I'm going to do this one last time, like I said, and then I'll kind of talk about next week briefly, and we'll get going here. So you choose the element that you want to work on. I like breath. I really like it, so I'm gonna do that one. Holding on to the ball. I've got my right foot as my root foot. Nice deep breath. Pushing chi. Forward. Back. Down. Up. Ward off. Ball. Chen style ward off. 1, 2, 3. Roll back. Take an extra sip of air here. Pushing chi. Down and up. Diagonal ward off. Breathing in to hold the ball. Chen style ward off. 1, 2, 3, and hold the ball. Roll back. Breathe in, nice deep breath as we hold the ball. Exhale, let it all out. Okay. Rotate the spine here a little bit, turn the head, make sure everything's feeling okay, feeling safe, feeling good. If you're bound up a little bit in the low back here, next time, right, you might really keep that vertical spine up more, tuck the tail more. For me, I find that I jet my bottom out a little bit too much, and so I've got to tuck my tail a little bit more. One stretch that I like for this, I usually use a chair, but I don't have one right here. So I sink down, then I push my bottom up, and roll up with each vertebrae. Now usually, with a chair, I put my hands on it. Actually, you know what? I've got one. Let me use this just to show you, to decompress that low back really quick. And then, yeah, nice wide feet. Sink down until you can touch the chair, right? So I'm sinking down until I can touch the chair. Then I fold forward, tuck the tail, and I can already feel a little bit of tension in my hamstrings. Tucking the tail kind of feels like there's a little bit of a stretch in the low back. Tuck the chin, and you want to roll up with each vertebrae one at a time. So what we don't want to do is bend forward and then snap back. We want to round everything and roll up one vertebrae at a time. Okay, so everything's slow and steady, one at a time. I find that to be a really nice decompression if I do have tension in my back. All right, this has been week 2 of our Tai Chi Fusion. Thank you guys so much. Last week we did 2 moves that we didn't really do today. Next week we'll do 2 moves that we didn't do today. We're gonna probably get rid of, we're definitely going to get rid of the diagonal ward off and the roll back. We're going to replace those 2 next week because we did them last week and this week. So 2 weeks in a row is all we get for any moves, and then we move on. So I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see when that video is published. And yeah, you can go back to week number 1 if you didn't see it. Take care. Have a great one. Bye-bye.